Okay. Drew, you took your camera off.
Hello.
Hi, hon.
Yeah,
I
I
was
forgot
like,
I
you
did
sneaky.
that. I forgot I did that.
Like, that's just sneaky of you, dear. That's a little better. It's not quite as. So, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I remember, so last weekend there was a huge tornado thing, and we're in a group chat, and you always
Yeah,
post everything. So you're watching out for all of us and giving us notifications. And I was under another watch, and it got pretty ugly again.
yeah.
And there was something with the notifications that had upset you in particular. They hadn't notified people, or it didn't go
Yeah,
out.
that was in Texas. That was the storm in Texas
Yeah.
in the
What was
radar
that?
hole. They were in a radar hole. And
So it was what we talked about last time.
yeah, and
Man, that exact
unfortunately,
scenario. Shit.
unfortunately, it took lives this time
Yeah.
because
Mm,
it was a massive tornado.
yeah. How many do you remember? Was it
I,
7? I don't have
I'm
a
not.
final count.
The final count was like 18,
Oh
19.
god. Oh.
Let me look.
Oh.
At least 15 dead.
Phew. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Hey, One Hot Tamale, thank you for the can on my little channel. Thank you. I see you. Bless your heart, honey. Thank you. Because I'm on 2 channels on Pilled and Rumble. Thank you. She's so sweet. I love her. Okay. So that sparked a conversation between us because I personally feel like this is more intense than years past. Like I know it cycles and it fluctuates, and every
Hmm.
decade and a half, you get a rougher season. So then we were talking about looking at the numbers and are we in a cycle? Is there something else that's going on? And you were just talking to me about the El Nino versus what's the other one? La Nina.
La Nina, El Nino, yes.
Explain to me the difference. Help me out.
La Nina, you got cooler, like ocean temperatures,
Okay. And the El
and
Nino, it's warm?
it's warmer.
Because I remember, was it 2013 was the El Nino? Because I remember
Yes,
that being in the news. Like that
yes,
was the
El
first time I
Nino.
remember really hearing about it, and I was like, "What the hell's an what is this?" But
Yeah,
everybody was talking about it.
it's the ocean temperatures.
Okay, and I presume that's just part of the natural fluctuation of our world.
Yeah, with the wind flow and the
Yeah.
jet stream. Yeah, just how it's set up.
So would the colder temperatures be affecting the inland weather patterns that we're seeing? Because I wasn't it hurricanes? We had more hurricanes in 2013 with the El Nino with the warmer temperature. I
Yeah,
feel like that's what it was.
because El Nino, you don't have any wind shear.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
so that hurricane can just feed that warm, moist air
Yeah.
in the water and just keep going, just keep strengthening. But in La Nina, you got the cooler weather, you got the wind shear, and hurricanes hate wind shear. Like wind shear is no good for them. It'll suck them dry. It'll make them go away. Oh, I didn't mean it like that, but yeah.
I wasn't gonna say
Oops.
it's okay. It's okay. So in theory, I'll get past that in a second. So would the colder temperatures be affecting inland where the warm affected the hurricane over the ocean? Is there is that a theory? Is there evidence to support that?
Say that again.
Um the colder ocean temperature, would that be affecting the inland weather, like the tornadoes? Would it be doing the opposite, basically, of what the other one did for the hurricanes? I'm just curious.
I mean, it'll shift. Like, in 2013, you
Mhm.
had it in Mississippi, Alabama,
Mhm.
but now you're having it in Iowa, Oklahoma, Kansas, and all in the Midwest because of
Yeah.
La
They're
Nina
getting
and the warm
okay.
temperature or the cooler temperatures in the ocean right now.
Okay. All
It's
right.
it flip flops.
That's and how often do we have these meanias? Is it a set time, or do they just
I
notice the temperature shifted and they
just
just announce
Yeah,
we're in a meania,
but
whichever one it is? Is there more than the two, or is there
no,
just the two?
it's just the two.
It's just okay. Well, that's good. Less for me to worry about.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. With the La Nina, it does kind of affect inland, like you say.
Okay. Well,
I
all
mean,
right. I was trying to
it
think of
shifts the
contributing factors.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
What are some other contributing factors that we could attribute? Like, I know we can theorize about a bunch of stuff, and I find that rabbit hole fun, but is there anything that we can, beyond this, the Mania situation, that we can honestly say?
I mean, really, it's just that time of year for tornadoes. For the springtime, the cooler temperatures getting kicked out,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the warmer air is coming in, so they're battling more at this time.
Do you think the residents in Texas that just suffered that, like, do you think they'll find out that they're in a radar hole and that's what happened? Because I can't imagine the locals would know that, right? But when the TV stations that include them, like, there's got to be some affiliate TV station that they're near that would have this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, it's just a bad situation, and I don't know how to fix it, honestly. And it just
I know.
it's a terrible situation.
I know. I
The,
I cannot believe in today's age of technology, drones, 5G, this and that, blah blah blah, that we have holes in the radar, and they're
mm,
when we were looking at them, I was shocked at how many of them were densely populated.
mm-hmm.
Like, I would have expected it to be over, like, if you had a pocket, it would be over a vast swath of, like, farmland,
Yep.
stuff, like, but not areas that are populated.
Not metropolitan
Yeah,
areas.
and most of them were,
Yeah, a
and
lot of them.
I was just shocked by that, really
Yeah,
shocked,
it's just a terrible
especially with all the
situation.
technology, the towers and all that should be centralized there, so how the hell do they not have radar? Like, you have towers everywhere in giant cities, a variety of towers, all kinds of towers. How is there not a radar? How I don't know.
And
Chat with you
those
guys.
people pay the same taxes and still don't get the same.
And yeah. And the thing is, they don't even know they're getting cheated. They have no idea. Like, I didn't know. I had no idea until you mentioned it to me in that chat, and I was like, "What? Wait, what? Holes?" Never do I not think about the Aquanet joke from last time. That's why we have the holes. We can go back to using our Aquanet hairspray and all the fun stuff that we had in the 80s. Oh, was it Sandra was teasing me about, we were joking about old hairstyles, and she was talking about Dippity Doo. I was like, "Oh my god, I remember Dippity Doo."
Yeah, I'm too
Oh,
young for that one.
yep. Yep, it's an 80s thing. Yeah, yeah, I know, population control methods. I'm just scanning the chat real quick. Well, which thing would you like me to show? What
You
would you
could do.
like me to move to? Because we have a bunch of things we can look at. Where do you want to start?
The very first one I sent you about the 15, the previous,
15
the tornado
15
outbreak.
dead. Got it.
Yes.
All right, let me switch screens. One sec. All right. These are YouTube, so if they flash to commercial, forgive me, folks.
Holiday weekend storms. Take a look at this video sent to our sister station in St. Louis, KSDK. This comes from New Baden, Illinois, where strong winds took down trees and power lines. It's just one of the states where weekend storms are being surveyed, including the death here in Kentucky. At least 18 people were killed and dozens of others hurt as a result of severe weather over the weekend. ABC's Perry Russum has the latest overnight from Washington.
The car is shaking.
Deadly tornadoes killing at least 18 people in the south and southeast. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott says at least 7 people have been killed, including a 2-year-old and 5-year-old from the same family. This dog found alive in the rubble. Valley View, Texas, north of Dallas, one of the hardest hit cities. This gas station destroyed with 60 to 80 people hiding inside. The sheriff says no one was seriously hurt.
Wow.
The destruction is widespread. The governor signing a disaster declaration for more than a third of the state.
Candidly, it's been a harrowing week with lives lost, property reduced to rubble. The hopes and dreams of Texas families and small businesses have literally been crushed by storm after storm.
Storms stretching from Texas to Illinois. In Oklahoma, hail the size of baseballs. In Arkansas, at least 8 people killed, buildings collapsing, and roofs ripped off homes.
We felt it hit the house and just felt it started sucking air up through the walls and the windows.
Tried to make it to the hallway. That's the most central part of our house, and that's when we realized we didn't have a roof.
Tens of thousands of people without power.
We are seeing the great humanity of Arkansans and neighbors helping neighbors even when their own homes and businesses are damaged.
Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Wow.
One of the most miraculous stories of survival last night.
That, okay. And that was the pocket. So that's an example of what happens with those radar pockets and why it's so important. All that devastation. It just, it toasts my cookies that they don't talk about it and don't seem to care. It really ticks me off.
It says, I'm looking at Valley View right now. It says Valley View outdoor sirens malfunctioned before tornado hit. Valley View Fire Chief on warning. A lot don't make sense.
Okay. What is this one that we're looking at? This is La Nina. Is this the breakdown that we were just talking about?
Yes. The ocean temperatures.
Let's take a look at this.
The Eastern Pacific, July 2010. Ocean buoys record unusually cold sea surface temperatures. This is called La Nina, and for centuries, Peruvian fishermen have been aware that it not only affects their fishing, but also the weather. Scientists can now measure the effect. Here's the way a La Nina looks on a satellite's thermal imaging camera, showing the cooler sea temperature off the coast of Peru in green. Scientists discovered that the huge expanse of cool La Nina water could affect the surrounding atmosphere and the jet stream, shifting severe weather into new areas and intensifying it in places like the southern United States.
We had a very strong La Nina in the wintertime that set up a strong jet stream that provided the wind speed energy that was necessary to generate thunderstorms. But we also then had very humid and moist air in the southeastern part of the United States that provided the fuel for these thunderstorms. And the combination of those two provided an environment that was more conducive to these large tornadic outbreaks than you might have in other years.
By spring 2011, the newly intensified jet stream was already contributing to rainfall and floods across the South, plus droughts and raging wildfires in Texas. Warning signs of historic weather extremes.
We were worried about it because when you have a La Nina, as our research has shown, there tends to be more family outbreaks of these tornadoes in the southeast United States.
In fact, one of the worst tornado events in history, the super outbreak of April 1974.
Hey, this is the one I was talking about by your house.
La Nina year.
Okay.
148 twisters touched down in 13 states,
I remember
from
people
Mississippi
talking
all the
about
way up
that.
to New York,
Yeah.
killing 330 people and injuring thousands.
Well, that's uplifting, isn't it?
Yeah. Wonderful.
All right. And that, if anybody wants to look, that is on the KET, learningmedia.org. I know, but that's where it is. If you want to learn about some more on that.
I'll post it in the chat.
Okay. Do you have any comments on their definitions or what they were citing?
Everything they said I pretty much agree with.
Okay.
With the cooler temperatures making the tornado shifts more in the Midwest, and then the warmer Southeast. So,
Okay.
but this next one I have a little problem with as well.
Oh, now I'm intrigued. All right. Ask Andrew.
Yes.
Let's see what's going on with Mr. Andrew.
Then I have another one to follow.
Okay. Is it different from what you sent me? Because I'm going in order.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, it's nearly been 10 years, believe it or not, since we've seen anything that the United States saw an EF5 tornado. Well, it's nearly been 10 years, believe it or not, since we've seen anything that strong. And I want to kind of explain why and why the trend of those is actually falling a little bit. So this is the EF scale. This is what we use to measure the strength of a tornado. And you notice I put wind speeds on here, but it's more than just that. In fact, the whole idea behind the enhanced Fujita scale, the EF scale, was that we were focusing more on the damage, the aftermath of the tornado, not necessarily the wind speed. So because of that, and that went into effect in the 2007 time period, by the way, we have an intense tornado that in theory could move over an empty field. No houses, no structures, no trees damaged. It could have winds up to 200 miles per hour, which would make it an EF5. But because there was no damage to observe, it could only be rated, say, an EF0 or maybe an EF1. So it's primarily focused on the
Make that
damage.
shit make
That's
sense.
why we've seen a little bit of a decline in the number of those EF5 tornadoes. Now, there's new research that's being done to kind of include the wind speed back in this rating, and I'm going to show you more about that in detail at WQAD.com just before GMQC at 11. So I encourage you to check that out and some of the changes they want to make and enhancements to that scale. We'll be right back with the threat of when we can have severe weather here in the Quad Cities.
Let's pick this one apart. Nope. Nope.
I don't think I actually sent that one to follow this one, but there.
Oh, you sent me another one?
That's the one to follow. I don't think I ever sent it.
Did you drop it in our private chat?
Yes, just now.
Okay. All right. I will make that happen. What didn't you like specifically about what we just watched? What do you find inaccurate?
Like what he just said, you can have a tornado that has winds up to 200 miles an hour plus, but if it doesn't damage a building, it gets downgraded to EF0 or EF1.
Yeah. So unless it causes a specific, so
damage.
Yeah, they're basing it on a monetary value, not the strength of the funnel cloud and scientific
Correct.
data. It's just how much does the insurance have to pay out? Where does he get that? Like, is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing, and yeah,
Has it always been that way, or did some
Ever-
asshole in Congress greenlight that subtly in something?
well, ever since the Fujita scale was formed, it's been that way.
Okay. All right. Well, let's learn about that. This one's a little bit longer, but I'm curious because this blows again. These are simple things that I take for granted. Just like the radar, not having holes at this day and age.
On the night of December 10th, 2021, Doppler radar.
Say that again.
Said looking like Swiss cheese with all these holes.
Dangerous as hell. We need to put out the website again that shows the holes. If you can find that one, and we'll put it in the chat.
Unveiled a beast hiding in the dark of night, with radar velocities well over 200 miles per hour. A tornado at this intensity will destroy every single thing in its path. And that's exactly what happened. The town of Mayfield, Kentucky took a direct hit. Large industrial buildings would be reduced to piles of rubble, including a candle factory, where 8 would lose their lives. In Princeton, Kentucky, the tornado would leave cycloidal marks, a trait that is associated with the highest-end tornadoes. Bremen, Kentucky was towards the end of the path. This was where some of the worst damage occurred. In the weeks following, survey crews would go over the damage and determine this tornado was EF4 strength with a maximum wind speed of 190 miles per hour. To fully understand this decision, we need to go back in time. In 1945, a 24-year-old Tatsuya Fujita would survey the damage left by the Nagasaki atomic blast. Fujita determined the bomb had detonated 520 meters above Nagasaki, and he was able to do this all from the patterns he observed in the debris. Years later in the United States, Fujita would continue to make brilliant observations. Ted would hypothesize that the swirling pattern observed in a tornado's path was due to smaller suction vortices that made up the tornado. And in 1971, Fujita would outline a new way to classify tornadoes. The more extreme the damage, the higher the tornado would be rated. It would only be 3 years until April 3rd, 1974, the first true test of the F scale.
That's the one we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This tornado near Muncie, Indiana would have a nearly identical structure to what was hypothesized by Ted Fujita, proving his theory right.
There's the cones. Wow.
Another great example of multiple vortex structure within a tornado happened in Xenia, Ohio, the same day. This video was captured by a 16-year-old Bruce Boyd and is considered to be some of the most important tornado footage ever captured. In the weeks following, Fujita would lead the largest tornado damage survey ever completed. Because of how big this outbreak was, Fujita needed 5 different Cessnas to complete all the surveys. Fujita would log intensity ratings and width along each tornado's path. 148 tornadoes would touch down in 12 different states as well as Canada. This event still holds the record for the most tornadoes in 24 hours. It really blows my mind how good of a job Fujita did in 1974 without the use of satellite imagery.
Yeah.
The Xenia, Ohio tornado was considered to be the strongest tornado, and it was even given a preliminary rating of F6, the first and last time that would ever happen. The Fujita scale would be active for the next 30 plus years and would be used to rate over 50,000 tornadoes. At the beginning of 2007, a new scale would be implemented, the Enhanced Fujita Scale, or the EF scale for short. One big difference was that with the EF scale, the higher-end tornadoes had a slightly lower projected wind speed. In addition, the National Weather Service would outline 28 different DIs, or damage indicators, that would determine the rating of a tornado. Like the Fujita scale, the EF scale required damage to be done for a tornado to get rated. This damage right here was from a tornado that was rated EF2. At a glance, this might look worse than EF2, however, the building that collapsed was a garage. And if you follow the direction of the debris, it's clear the wind was perpendicular to the garage door, causing the garage to fail catastrophically. Because this tornado produced damage to a known DI, the National Weather Service was able to confidently rate this tornado. That's not always the case. Many tornadoes track over open fields and don't do any damage. Since its introduction in 2007, there have been nearly 10,000 EF0s, 6,300 EF1s, 1,600 EF2s, 403 EF3s, 85 EF4s, and only 9 EF5s. 1 out of every 2,500 tornadoes was EF5 strength in North America. That is an astronomically low number. I want to give my hot take. The EF scale in its current form is very outdated. Fully depending on damage to rate a tornado and determine its wind speed was a practice that was born out of necessity. Times have changed. We now have Doppler radar scanning a majority of the United States at all times. It is my belief that the maximum wind speeds within a tornado would be more accurately rated if the National Weather Service added a few more damage indicators and should also take into account Doppler radar, photogrammetry, and maybe even simulated environments.
Why wouldn't they do that?
So, do I think these 10 tornadoes were the only tornadoes within the last 15 years to achieve winds higher than 200 miles per hour? No. The most ridiculous example of the EF scale misrepresenting a tornado strength happened on May 31st, 2013, the infamous El Reno, Oklahoma tornado. Despite having radar-indicated winds over 300 miles per hour, the worst damage this tornado would do was only EF3 damage. Because the damage is what determines the rating, the final rating of this tornado was EF3. The 2021 Western Kentucky Long Track Tornado is another candidate for tornadoes that probably should have been rated EF5. The worst damage produced by this tornado was near the town of Bremen, Kentucky, where multiple homes would be wiped clean off of their foundations. In the surveyor's notes, it stated that this home was well constructed, but the assigned wind speed was only 190 miles per hour. In my opinion, shredded debris left by the foundation that was swept clean is more than enough to justify an EF5 rating. On April 9th, 2015, this long-track, violent tornado would strike the towns of Rochelle and Fairdale, Illinois. This tornado would leave an extremely visible scar on the ground, similar to what was seen with the Western Kentucky tornado, except on a much larger scale. Videos captured by residents of the area showed how violent the winds were contained within this tornado. The National Weather Service would survey the damage and determine at 20 different spots the maximum wind speeds were 200 miles per hour. That is exactly 1 mile per hour less than the threshold required to achieve EF5 status. It seems unlikely that the tornado wasn't over 200 miles per hour at one of these 20 locations.
Yeah.
I am not alone in my criticisms. In 2021, a paper released by well-respected scientists in the field states that supercell tornadoes are much stronger and wider than damage-based ratings indicate. Their data shows that over 20% of tornadoes have winds that are capable of causing catastrophic EF4 and EF5 damage. This is in stark contrast to the current rate assigned by the National Weather Service of less than 0.5%. Their paper states that the NWS underestimates tornadoes by an average of 1.5 categories. Many might say that tornado ratings don't matter. That is not the case. Having an accurate representation of tornado wind intensities is important for tornado safety and building codes. Ted Fujita's method of using damage to determine a tornado's maximum wind speed has been the best method since his original usage in 1971. However, with the advent of modern technology, I think it's time to adopt additional techniques for this task.
That was well put together by that person.
Mm-hmm.
Hey everyone, I'm meteorologist Hannah Dennis, and the storm chance returns late tonight, but there are going to be a few.
Okay. I'm shocked yet again. You always bring me things that I just take for granted that these should be done. Like, again, it's just like the radar in today's day of technology and everything that he listed. I'm floored that they're not using that.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they not do that? How
there's a lot of questions in my mind about this as well.
Who would benefit by downscaling it? Because that's what it's always about. It's always about who benefits for something, for them to not do something correctly or take the lazy route, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's always what it boils down to, right? Like, I
may have a video for that.
That's interesting. What do you guys think out there in the chat? And please smash the red pill or thumbs up button, whatever works for you guys, depending on which platform you're watching this on. They're having a lot of fun with stickers. Our regular groups, they're sticker happy on Pilled.
Yeah.
Yeah. They never disappoint. Okay, Hot Tamale has one. What's the average amount of tornadoes that are still in one system that do not touch the ground? That's like it reminds me of like a word problem when I was a kid.
I know. I'm trying to find that and read it again. What's the average amount of tornadoes that are still on one system that does not touch ground? That's called a funnel cloud. If it does not touch the ground.
Yeah.
So it's probably a lot higher seeing a funnel cloud than.
Yeah. Everybody in the chat thinks it has to do with insurance companies, and that's my first thing also, since it doesn't count unless it causes damage.
Mm-hmm.
So does it make it easier for the claims if you can automatically say, well, it was an E4, or what, is it easier to process the claim?
Mm-hmm.
How would that benefit the insurance company?
I cannot remember what video I have sent you, but they talked about this.
Is the EF scale outdated? That's the one that we just watched. Let me jump over here. I have, where did the EF5 tornadoes go? Is that the next one?
It's this one. Hold on. I'll send it to you again.
Okay. I got out of order.
You're good. I've been just throwing shit everywhere. This one at the very end, it talks about in 1974, the outbreak.
Okay.
The Congress actually passed something with FEMA, and that's when FEMA got created.
Convenient.
So
very convenient. The year that we had the worst destruction with tornadoes and yeah, okay.
So yeah, there you go.
Color me shocked. All right, all right. Okay, let's see here. Let me get this pulled up.
You'll know some of these towns because they're right next door.
Yeah, because I live in the Midwest, born and raised, and most of my family is in 3 or 4 states around us. So I've always traveled and done stuff in the little states around us. But yeah, it's shocking to me. that they are so crappily prepared. And nothing is an accident. You know, it's not like they don't have the money.
Wednesday,
Flush it everywhere.
April 3rd, 1974. Cleveland, Tennessee. It is early afternoon in southeastern Tennessee. The early days of spring have brought unseasonably hot and muggy weather to the Great Appalachian Valley. Residents know all too well what this type of weather usually brings in the late afternoon. And so do forecasters, having implemented thunderstorm watches that morning. But little did any of them expect the scope of what was about to unfold. At 2 p.m. local time, to the south of town, a supercell thunderstorm plants a tornado in the Eastview neighborhood. 100 injuries and a fatality were reported with the storm. This F3 tornado would be the first significant tornado of what was about to become the most impactful day in United States tornado history. Over the next 18 hours, a staggering additional 143 tornadoes would reach the ground across the region, spanning from the jungle of southern Mississippi to the lowlands of southern Ontario. The human impact was devastating, but the economic and sheer amount of area affected made this event simply unprecedented, cementing April 3rd, 1974, not only as a tornado outbreak, but the super outbreak. The super outbreak story starts 48 hours earlier, as the evolution of the weather system began to take shape. Cyclogenesis off of the Rocky Mountains was driven by a massive trough in the jet stream overhead, drawing the primed Gulf air over the Tennessee and Ohio valleys. An overnight elevated storm complex would progress through this region on the 2nd. This would weaken capping that would normally prevent storms and bolster wind shear profiles that would support strong supercell thunderstorms, setting the stage for the main show that afternoon of April 3rd. And sure enough, surface-based supercells would fire off in two lines, one over central Illinois and the other over the Ohio Valley. At 2:20 p.m. local time, the first historic tornado would plant itself west of Leopold, Indiana.
Yeah, I told you that was close by.
Most of its 68-mile-long track was over rural areas before steamrolling the communities of DuPont, Martinsburg, and Daisy Hill, where farms, a school, and dozens of homes were hit.
That's wild.
This would mark the first of 7 F5 tornadoes that day. For context, an F5 is the highest category a tornado can be, considered to be incredible damage. At this moment in time, only select tornado scientists and individuals in the Weather Service knew what an F5 really meant. That would all change after April 3rd, but that explanation will have to wait. Almost simultaneously with the DuPont tornado, 30 miles south is Irvington, Kentucky, where the second F5 of the event is starting to make its way northward, turning towards a city along the Ohio River named Brandenburg. The western half of town would be hit with vicious force, shredding nearly everything above ground and throwing it into the mighty river. Numerous well-constructed anchored structures completely obliterated with little evidence of their prior existence, driving many to consider this F5 possibly the strongest of the event. In Brandenburg alone, 28 lives were taken and another 250 were seriously injured. Back to the north, the supercell responsible for the first F5 had cycled and was dropping its next tornado. This F4 would wipe away a major portion of Hanover, Indiana, but miraculously, no fatalities took place within the town's limits. Just upstream was Madison, where the same could not be said, as 11 lives were claimed by this tornado.
I visited that last weekend. I was
Even
in
though
that
this
town.
supercell had yet to perform its encore,
Such a pretty
100
little town.
miles northeast of Madison, a completely different supercell had spawned yet another F5. This one, however, is squarely aimed at the city of Xenia, Ohio. This tornado was of multi-vortex nature, with the parent circulation spanning nearly a half-mile wide. It hit Xenia dead center, flattening the subdivision of Windsor Park before slamming the high school. Students in after-school activities lay in the hallways moments before impact. A school bus would be launched into the auditorium. Multiple residents captured the tornado on film, resulting in some of the most famous tornado images in history. Past Xenia, the towns of Wilberforce and Cedarville would also be impacted. By tornado's end, over 1,400 homes and businesses were destroyed, 1,000 were injured, and 32 people perished. Back over the Ohio River to the west of Cincinnati, the same storm that spawned the DuPont and Madison tornadoes produced the fourth F5 of the day. It crossed state lines from Kentucky into Ohio, and upon crossing the river, the twister crashed into the Bankside neighborhood of Sailor Park, Cincinnati. It would flip a floating restaurant barge, and homes built to withstand river flooding were slabbed with ease, some of which were thrown into the Ohio. Thousands of Cincinnati residents watched the tornado live on TV as it traversed the western city limits. Despite impacting the Cincinnati metro, only 3 fatalities occurred in the fourth F5.
That's amazing.
Well to the north,
considering the
one of the
population.
cyclical supercells from the Illinois Initiation region spins up its 7th tornado. The city of Monticello, Indiana would be hit head-on by the F4, destroying the county courthouse and 40 other structures. The Penn Central Railroad Bridge over the Tippecanoe River would also be heavily damaged. The F4 was far from over though, as the communities of Rochester and Talma would be also hit head-on. By the end of this remarkable F4, another 18 lives were lost alongside another 285 injuries. As the afternoon turned to evening, the threat would transition further south into the Tennessee Valley. Supercells fired east of the lower Mississippi River in the late afternoon. At 6:15 p.m., to the west of Moulton, Alabama, yet another F5 rated tornado would find its way to the ground. Just north of town, multiple homes were completely swept away, and even a water pump was pulled out of its well house. Debris was granulated beyond recognition as the tornado traversed towards the Tennessee River. The tornado would begin to trench on the other side of the river, plastering debarked trees with earth. This F5 would run through the south side of Tanner, Alabama, where mobile homes did not stand a chance. First responders in Tanner rushed to the affected areas to assist the wounded when the unthinkable happens. Yet another tornado touches down to the southwest of town and in a deadly 1-2 punch plows through the center of Tanner. For the second time in 30 minutes, Tanner has been hit by an F5 tornado. Folks injured in the first tornado that were brought into town were now subjected to their second F5. Whatever was spared in the first Tanner tornado was taken care of by the second. Between the 2 Tanner F5s, 44 fatalities and 457 injuries occurred, the majority of which were in the devastated community of Tanner. Congruently with the second Tanner F5, the supercell that had dropped the first Tanner tornado would produce an F4 that would rip through the communities of Harmony Hill and Pleasant Ridge, Tennessee. 46 homes and 90 barns would be added to the day's tally, alongside the lives of 11 and 121 more injuries. As day transitioned to night, an enhanced low-level jet would supercharge a late storm crossing from Mississippi into Alabama. This supercell would spawn a tornado over Caledonia, Mississippi, where it would quickly cross into Alabama. Passing north of Vernon, it screamed northeastward towards the town of Guin. Shrouded by the night, Guin would be subjected to arguably the most violent tornado of the event, and potentially in all of recorded history. A mobile home production plant was slabbed, its twisted steel skeleton thrown downstream. Brick residential homes were not only slabbed, but their foundations themselves were either moved or in some cases also completely swept away. More catastrophic damage occurred 23 miles upstream in Delmar, where the now mile-wide nocturnal wedge would wrap mobile homes around debarked tree trunks. This F5 would mow through the Bankhead National Forest, tossing trees like toothpicks before roping out 103 miles from its origin, just south of Decatur, Alabama. The final tally for the 7th and final F5 of the day would be 546 flattened structures, injuries to 272 individuals, and 28 fatalities. So far, we've recounted the cliff notes of 10 major tornadoes from this outbreak. However, this is just a fraction of the total story, as the day's final totals are overwhelming. Between April 3rd and 4th, 1974, a total of 148 individual tornado swaths added up to an astonishing 2,600 miles of destruction. Human impacts were vast, as there were over 5,400 severe injuries recorded. On top of that, a tragic loss of 310 people. The final damage assessments accrued to an estimated $843 million, a whopping $5.3 billion when adjusted for inflation. To come up with that damage figure, it was thanks in large part to one particularly zealous tornado scientist. Evaluation of this disaster was unlike anything seen in prior weather history, but for Dr. Ted Fujita, this was the type of event he dreamed of. He scrambled to put together air crews and survey teams while tornadoes were still in progress the night of the 3rd. Time was of the essence, as the cleanup of Fujita's precious evidence would most certainly begin at sunrise on the 4th. Single-engine aircraft darted over hundreds of miles of damage to photograph the tornado tracks. Ground crews spearheaded by NWS employees and meteorology grad students captured detailed images of the damage and surveyed survivors to obtain as much information as possible about each tornado and their actions that saved their lives. With a massive mound of evidence gathered, Fujita and his team sifted through it all at the University of Chicago. Over the next year, he put together the most detailed and comprehensive tornado outbreak survey to date. This event would be the first ever wide-scale implementation of Fujita's scale, the scale nobody outside of the meteorology world knew of at this point. 34 tornadoes were assigned in F2, 34 in F3, 23 in F4, and 7, the distinction of an F5. This meant 98 of the 148 tornadoes that day were significant damage producers, a figure completely unprecedented in tornado history up until then. In the wake of April 3rd, while communities picked up the pieces and started the long road to recovery, the wheels of Capitol Hill started to turn to change disaster response. Congress expedited the unanimously passed Disaster Relief Act of 1974. Most notably in this act was the action to create an agency that would coordinate disaster response, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, better known as FEMA, that we know today. When all metrics are considered, the 1974 super outbreak was the most impactful tornado outbreak in American history. Its impact is forever cemented in dozens of towns dotted across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. While its unprecedented impact was undoubtedly devastating, it forever changed tornado science and also set the wheels in motion on Capitol Hill to cause change in disaster response for the better. For 37 of the past 50 years, it seemed unquestionable that the super outbreak was a once-in-a-lifetime event. In 2011, however, that would cease to be the case. But that's a story for another day. I'm Ethan Moriarty, and as always, stay...
All right. Well, that is convenient. So on one hand, my brain says, well, okay, they saw a problem and they tried to create a solution. But then the other side of my brain thinks, well, they have a history of doing this. They create a problem to create a solution that will
already had.
right, that they'll just launder more money through. Because, I mean, FEMA, let's face it, in the last few years, they're shit. I mean, just in the last 3 or 4 years, the train mess in Ohio, not very helpful. Maui, not very helpful. Like, I don't know. I'm not impressed. Where are you at with it? What do you think?
No, there's a lot of questionings. For sure. I'm reading about the Disaster Relief Act of 74, Richard Nixon.
I wondered who was president at that time.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's really, and you know, And I can't speak confidently because I haven't done a deep dive into FEMA, but it feels like when I was younger, they did more, maybe. Maybe I'm just thinking, the controversy of Hurricane Katrina, and I don't know, it feels like they used to do better. Maybe I'm just jaded. Could be. I could just be jaded at this point. Real quick, shout out Johnny Q for the fleet. My goodness, friend, thank you so much for that. And shout out Vanessa DC for the cookie. I hope your son's feeling better. We're going to keep him in our prayers. Okay. What am I looking at here? What is this one?
As bad as the storms have been, there hasn't been an EF5 since 2013.
So is that just because they changed how they did it?
I mean,
because
you have some, I could think of 3 off the top of my head that should have been EF5, but just because of the area that they hit,
was less populated.
Yeah.
So it didn't. We're always told that it's about wind speed.
I know.
We're always told that. We're always told, the EF5, it's 200 this or what. Yeah, no. They just give a shit about the insurance money. I'm so disillusioned. Every time you come on here, Drew, this happens.
Tornadoes come in all shapes and sizes. Some are fleeting little noodles, barely strong enough to knock over a flower pot or rip the roof off a doghouse. Others are enough to pulverize entire communities, reducing neighborhoods to rubble and wiping foundations bare. It's fair to say that not all tornadoes are created equal. Fortunately, the monsters are as rare as they are terrifying. Officially, tornadoes are ranked on a 0 through 5 scale known as the Enhanced Fujita Scale. It was adopted on February 1st, 2007 as a modification to the original Fujita scale, named after the late Japanese scientist and severe weather researcher Ted Fujita. EF0 tornadoes on the bottom end of the scale are weak and have winds generally less than 85 miles per hour. Still, that's enough to uproot or snap trees, which can fall on vehicles or homes below. Even the weakest tornado can bring the winds found at the core of a Category 1 hurricane, and that's nothing to shake a stick at. Next are EF1 tornadoes. They have winds of 86 to 110 miles per hour. EF1s blow in garage doors, cause roof damage, and can flip cars.
Yeah.
According to the Tornado Project Online, about 70% of tornadoes are EF0 to EF1, or F0 to F1 tornadoes.
Alright guys, tornado right now, tornado in Annapolis, Maryland. This is the tornado. There you can see it right here. I'm only a few hundred feet away. This tornado sets across.
Then we have EF2 tornadoes. Those are deemed significant by the National Weather Service. They can destroy homes and commercial buildings alike. Most EF2 or greater tornadoes come from rotating supercell thunderstorms. EF2 tornadoes are usually longer-lived too, often spending more than 10 minutes on the ground. They have winds of 111 to 135 miles per hour. Then we have EF3 tornadoes, like this one I chased near Farnham, Nebraska on May 17, 2019. EF3 tornadoes have winds of 136 to 165 miles per hour. Entire neighborhoods can be ravaged, with only a few interior walls left standing in each home. Only a third of tornadoes fall into the EF2 to EF3 category. A direct hit from an EF3 tornado can ordinarily only be survived below ground. Yeah. Then we make it to the violent tornado category.
Oh!
EF4 tornadoes have winds between 166 and 200 miles per hour. If you get hit square by an EF4, odds are you'll have nothing left. EF4 tornadoes can toss vehicles like toys, dash a well-constructed home to pieces, and leave nothing but a pile of rubble on a foundation. During the April 27, 2011 Tuscaloosa, Alabama tornado, this train car pictured at center was thrown 391 feet. That's more than a football field away. The good news is that, within an EF4 tornado's damage footprint, only maybe 1% of the area actually hit experiences EF4 damage. Look at this map of damage points from the Rolling Fork, Mississippi tornado that hit on March 24th. Only the tiny red triangles mark where EF4 damage occurred. When you witness the damage left by an EF4 tornado, it can be tough to make sense of what once stood there. All that's left may be piles of lumber or a massive metal water tower left bent over like a wilted flower. Less than 1% of tornadoes reach violent EF4 or greater strength. Then we have EF5 tornadoes.
Look at that tornado!
EF5 tornadoes have winds topping 200 miles per hour. At those speeds, it's tough to tell the difference between EF4 and EF5 destruction, but there's one telltale clue. EF4 winds level a home and leave a pile of ruins on the foundation. At EF5 strength, the foundation is swept bare. There's nothing left. Here's what that looks like. Same for this one. EF5 tornadoes can do terrifying things. This academic paper recounts some of the most extreme EF5 damage ever observed in the modern era. Pavement is scoured from streets. Vehicles become deadly missiles.
Yeah.
In 2011, an EF5 tornado in Smithville, Mississippi tossed a red Ford Explorer a half-mile into this water tower, denting it permanently at the top. The Hackleburg-Phil Campbell, Alabama tornado, also from April 27, 2011, tried to pry this storm shelter out of the ground. 72 people died in that storm. Often, the only way to discern between EF4 and EF5 destruction is to analyze how well a home had been anchored to its foundation. Despite comprising only 0.5% of tornadoes, EF4 and EF5 tornadoes are responsible for 2/3 of all tornado deaths. Oddly, however, there hasn't been an EF5 tornado in the United States for 10 years. We've had a lot of deadly EF4 tornadoes, but EF5s have been mysteriously absent from the lower 48. The Mayfield, Kentucky tornado of December 10, 2021 did come close. It had winds of 190 miles per hour and killed 57 people along its nearly 166-mile path. Foundations were swept bare, indicating EF5 damage, but the tornado was rated an EF4 since engineers couldn't prove houses were firmly anchored to said foundations. That raises a key criticism of the enhanced Fujita scale. It doesn't estimate tornado strength. Instead, it is simply a damage scale used as a proxy for tornado strength. Consider the monstrous Bassfield, Mississippi tornado of April 12, 2020, so large that an eye developed on radar as it swallowed the town.
Yeah.
Could that one have had winds over 200 miles per hour? Well, perhaps, but it didn't hit anything that could prove it. In other words, all the structures destroyed would have failed in winds below EF4 strength. Even if a forest is razed, the National Weather Service can't assign an EF5 rating. The maximum wind speed estimate they can award is 167 miles per hour based on tree damage. That premise proved an issue with the El Reno, Oklahoma tornado of May 31st, 2013. It killed 9 people, including legendary storm chasers Tim and Paul Samaras and their partner Carl Young. A research mobile Doppler radar estimated the 2.6-mile-wide behemoth had winds up to 296 miles per hour just 500 feet above the ground. After initially awarding an EF5 rating, however, the National Weather Service later revised it back to an EF3. Put simply, there wasn't much for the super tornado to hit. Aside from a few homes and vehicles that it demolished, it passed over rural fields and dirt roads. The National Weather Service survey team couldn't find any damage commensurate with EF5 strength. In a statement, the National Weather Service wrote that, quote, while the wind measurements from the mobile radars are considered reliable, National Weather Service policy for determining EF ratings is based on surveys of ground damage. Among meteorological circles, it's commonly accepted that El Reno was a rare species of tornado elite even among EF5s, but it will forever remain an EF3 in the books. Officially, the last tornado to be rated in EF5 was the Moore, Oklahoma tornado of May 13, 2013, 10 years ago today. That one carved through the southern suburbs of Oklahoma City around 3 p.m. on a fateful Monday afternoon. It struck multiple elementary schools, killing 7 children at the Plaza Tower School. The destruction was complete, the magnitude of the catastrophe unambiguous. 24 people died. But the tornado carved through enough neighborhoods that finding some EF5 damage was virtually inevitable. The scene was eerily reminiscent of May 3, 1999, when a similar F5 tornado with radar estimated winds to 301 miles per hour killed 36 people, also in Moore. Between the two cataclysmic tornadoes, some places were hit twice. So putting it all together, the fact that no tornadoes have registered as EF5s in the past decade is a product of coincidence and luck. There very well may have been some EF5s that we'll never know about. There's good reason to feel that way too. A study published in 2021 by Karen Kasiba and Josh Werman used radar data to estimate that as much as 20% of tornadoes, not 1%, may be capable of EF4 to EF5 damage. Most just roam over open fields. For now, the record-long streak without any EF5s continues, but it can't last forever. And when it does end, there will be nothing left.
Oh my. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, get your mind.
Yeah.
Why?
Why would you do that? Why? Who benefits? Who benefits? That's what it's always comes down to. Who will benefit?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that. All right. Any advice we can give people? What is the site for the radar holes? Let's read that site so it's recorded into the episode for anybody that wants to watch it on playbacks. I know you dropped it in the chat for us, and thank you.
Yes. Ryan Hall. It's only like 30 seconds.
Duppy is having a good time in the chat. He says
I
the next
know.
EF5 should hit Al Gore's house.
Ow.
Yeah. Climate change. There you go. Nothing like some little climate change.
Of course, Duppy would say something like that.
I know, right? What's the YouTube one you just put in the chat? Is that what we just played, or is that
The radar holes?
that's the radar holes? All right.
Yes.
Let me see if I can copy that.
It's about 30 seconds. It's not very
Okay.
long, but it explains it.
Okay, cool. Let me put it up here so we can review that. I just want to make sure it's included in the episode since we've talked about that. I mean, we did an entire episode on it, but it's just nuts to me. I just want to make sure everybody knows how you can find if you are in or near a radar hole, because this is stuff you should know for your safety. Okay, this is a quick video, and this is on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Rural radar hole. You can't see in there. The reason the National Weather Service issued this tornado warning, more than likely, is for that reason. If there is some sort of rotation or something going on in here, we'd never know. Because for whatever reason, Lima, Ohio doesn't get a radar. Hey, listen, you pay for it. If you pay taxes, you pay for it.
You pay for it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. He's always big on
That-
it, Ryan Hall.
That is crazy to me. It is just crazy. But I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, they give all of our tax money away to everything but what we need, So why should we get updates? I mean, it's not like they passed a giant infrastructure bill recently for, billions. It's not like they just did that.
No.
I wonder if local governments even know that they're not. Like, I wonder if, like, the mayors and stuff in these towns even know. And, like, if they don't know, how can they complain or allocate the money and fix it? So, for all of you out there that are seeing this, check and see what's around.
Yeah.
And if there's a town that's close to you, even if it's not yours, maybe tell them, hey, did you know? Might want to fix this.
I didn't mean to send that. I meant to.
What'd you just drop in there? Is that a
I
different
didn't.
one?
I didn't mean to do that. I meant to send you something else. Sorry. This is the radar hole map. I put in chat as well.
That's what I was looking for. Awesome. Okay, let me share screen and I'll get that up.
I think you got to scroll down a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, no, I don't want a membership right now. Okay, under radar, why we need more radar sites. Yeah, here's the blog about it. So here we go. Are these all holes? Are the circles all holes?
Yep.
So all of these, like these little red circles, this is problems. And they're all over the place.
Big problems.
They're all over the place. Okay, this is medium.com is this website. And we're under, why we need more radar. If you wanted to look at that site for anybody that's watching the playback. It is just mind-blowing to me. And nobody knows, so nobody complains. What
Mhm.
brilliant logic for them. Just don't tell the population, and that way you don't have to listen to them bitch.
Yeah.
Just don't tell them. It's fine. Just keep hoovering up the money.
And that little Texas circle, that's where that tornado hit.
This one down
Yep.
here.
The one, yep.
That's the one that we just had last week.
North Texas.
That killed. It's 17, is it?
I think it killed 5 there, but altogether from Arkansas to
Yeah. The video said 15, but I think the count was actually a little
more.
higher.
I think
it
so.
was. Oh, geez. I can't
Yeah.
expand the map, I don't think. Maybe. Copy image. A little better.
Mhm.
That's all it's going to let me do. I'll leave that up here so everybody can take a good long look at that and see where you're at. Any other comments in the chat on this stuff? I know we talked about it a little bit last time, but I just keep wanting to drill this home. Like, obviously listen to your radar, check everything, check all your apps, have some supplies in the basement, have a plan, especially if you don't have a basement, what other options do you have? Especially since we're in this weird season where we're more likely to get some, it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. La Nina is a bitch.
One hot tamale. This map is referred to as the Kamala Gap map.
Oh.
That's she is so spicy. Oh, I'm so looking forward to doing a show with her soon. Thank you, Filter Dog, for the can. Have you seen where all the Dopplers in the region go off and the storm blows up? Is that a question for you, Drew?
Oh, have you seen where all the Dopplers from the regions go off? And, like, does he mean like the Doppler radar goes completely off, or?
I don't know. I was in a store last week when we were. No, I was at the flea market. I was in a huge warehouse, and everybody stopped. It was so freaking eerie, and all of our phones went off with the tornado warning. Like, literally, there was hundreds of people shoved in there, and it was the eeriest thing. Everybody just stopped and looked around because everyone's phone went off. And everybody just kind of looked around at each other like, oh, we're in a big fairgrounds thing. Like, there's no hope. I mean, if something were to happen, you're done. I mean, really, like, we were like, okay, what are we going to do with this?
Yeah, no, when you're in that situation, it's like, man.
Yeah. There wasn't much we could do. I felt bad because there was music festivals that got canceled and graduations that got canceled because it happened on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Filter Dog, did you have any more on that follow-up on that question? Water Wizard, thank you for the can. Good to see you, friend. Trying to give him his chance and see if there's any other. Doppler town south of Memphis several years ago that got knocked out. A Doppler tower? Oh, a Doppler tower.
Oh,
Pardon
yeah.
me.
I've seen that happen before where it's knocked down a tower before.
Do you think the storm just gets mad and is like, you can't track me, bitch, and flattens it?
Well, I don't know if it thinks like that now, but
it'd be kind of funny though.
Mother Nature would be a very bad bitch if she talks.
We joke that tornadoes have a specific attraction to mobile homes or trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are just automatically attracted for some bizarre reason. They will find the nearest one and be sure they hit that as they're going through the town. It could be on the other side of town. The tornado will just pick up, bounce, and go over and make sure that they include the mobile park in the destruction path. Like they're noble. It always happens. I don't know what it is, but they always go after them.
Yeah, the biggest trailer park in the city, and it just boom.
It'll find it. It doesn't matter. It could be on the outskirts, could be miles away from the path. It already, nope. It's just going to jump and bounce. Oh, we didn't talk about reverse ones. That's what we didn't talk about.
Anticyclonic.
The ones that go backwards.
Yeah.
How common is that? I mean, I can only remember
Not very.
a few. In my life, I can remember maybe 3 or 4 where they were like straight going one direction and then just literally backed up. Like they just stop, twist, just come right back.
Yeah,
I've seen bounce. The bouncing is freaky.
Yeah, let me find that good video I have. Actually, one happened in Oklahoma about a month ago.
I hope everybody's getting a lot out of this one.
There you
this
go.
episode. Oh, thank you. Let me get that copied and opened.
Basically, anticyclonic is it.
We also had an interesting
rotates
meteorological.
Finish what you're saying.
It rotates backwards.
Does it change? Like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, if you have something that's going over 100 miles an hour and then it reverses, like the sheer force in physics.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, let's see what this says.
Phenomenon, you can call it, play out. Supercells, they ripped through southwest Oklahoma last night. Radar, and we're looking at satellite as these storms just blossomed as we work towards sunset. But radar detected a tornado debris signature, but not just one, signatures with an S. And there are a few reports of damage as a result. You see how those storms just blossomed over the state of Oklahoma and notably in Kansas. But when we're looking at what occurred in Oklahoma, radar detected some strange things last night. Supercells, these mesocyclones as they're called, they're rotating storms. In the northern hemisphere, they typically rotate counterclockwise, almost always. Tornadoes also spin in that direction. But last night, radar detected an anticyclonic satellite tornado, as it's called, Marissa, meaning it spun the other direction, clockwise, and rotated around, I guess, what you would call this normal tornado. We're looking at velocity, and to dissect it is fascinating. Don't want to get caught up so much in it, but what we saw yesterday is very rare.
It's an anomaly. I mean, it doesn't happen all too often, and still some things a little misunderstood about it. But I mean, the fact that about 2% of tornadoes are actually anticyclonic. When you're looking at radar, this is for the velocity couplet near Loveland, you have to know where your radar site is, right? Because you have to know, remember, green means the wind's moving toward, and red means away. And so that's going to give you those indicators as you look at it of which way the winds are going. So away and toward would be indicated by the reds and the greens there. Easy to miss if you're not looking at it and actually thinking about it.
It's true. And when you're looking at these two different couplets that were detected and how you have that what would maybe be perceived as the normal tornado, these satellite tornadoes, you can consider, you know, our moons like our satellite, right? It's connected to the system, but it's tangentially connected, and very little is understood about them. And the fact that they can rotate in the clockwise direction speaks to the anomalous element.
Yeah, it is. And that's a good point. You're not going to get that anticyclonic tornado without another tornado nearby.
Okay. How does this happen, though? It just seems okay. I'm not
The wind shear and it's gotta be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, literally the perfect storm. Literally.
Yeah.
All the right elements have to exist for it to suddenly shift.
You got to have the wind flow from the other storm pushing into that storm to make it shift directions. Like she said, that would have never happened if there was not another tornado nearby.
Mhm. So they feed on each other and move. Is
Mhm.
what I'm hearing.
And usually,
Chat says it was an Australian tornado. I was thinking about that when I was watching the clip because everything is backwards and down. I was thinking about that.
oh no, matey.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, yeah. Yeah, I know. Texas is getting hammered between the fires, the open border mess, and now the weather. And all the problems with the livestock they're having down there too, and some of the plants. Yeah, Texas, man, Texas is getting hammered on everything.
Oh, and this too, by the way, since Texas is.
What you got?
Speaking of Texas, they don't just have tornadoes.
Is this a new one? Thin air? Is that the thin air thing?
Yes.
Okay. Let me switch up.
But I would be the dummy out there with a football helmet and a baseball glove trying to catch these.
I was too. No, I don't want to sign up. Wow. Okay, hang on. I was seeing what it was. Okay. Let me back that up. Okay, that's weird. I kept clicking it. It wouldn't do that. That's softball size hail. I've had that attack my house before. It's nothing to play with.
No.
Ugh.
No, it's not.
Have you had giant hail in the area? That's not very common where you're at, right?
No, not really. No. The most I've ever seen is probably golf ball. But my folks said, like, before I was born and shit, they had, like, softball, baseball before.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. The chat has a lot of really good theories. I agree with most of them. I can't prove them, but yeah. Yeah.
And this one.
What else you got?
Saying you can't prove it. Well, here's another questionable thing.
Oh, I do love those. I like to look at theories and ask questions. It's healthy. All right, let's see what this dude says.
In the shape of a square.
Oh, I saw this one.
Meanwhile, this is not even a joke anymore. I think there's like 600,000 people in Texas are without electricity right now.
Yeah.
This is literally hail coming through the roof.
I'm putting this on my insurance claim. What's today? There's people literally using stuff to cover their heads. The hail is coming inside. It's breaking the roof of Walmart.
Wow.
I believe this was by WX Chasing. Y'all, we've been telling you the freaking weather is not normal, but y'all do not listen. Like, this is literally what was falling in Fort Worth. Y'all remember when I just showed you Colorado's multiple
That was Greeley.
hail? There was
Greeley.
a little Boeing that got pushed by the wind.
Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah, I
this is
remember that
insane.
too.
This is 3 or 4 weeks straight of just straight up chaotic storms, tornadoes everywhere, just mass destruction all over the U.S. I'm telling y'all, hurricane season is going to be crazy.
Well, and again, I go back and I question, is this another way to break an industry? Because eventually insurance, if they keep paying it out, that means everybody's rates keep going up eventually. And they've already been skyrocketing.
Mm-hmm.
So is this another way to add stress, mental, emotional, and financial, into the system? I don't know. Because, I mean, they can manipulate it. They can. It doesn't mean everything is manipulated, but they can manipulate it through chemtrails. They can use direct energy weapons. They can do, I mean, just go play in the patents. It is unbelievable what they've been able to do for the last 80 years. And, again, full disclaimer, I'm not saying every storm is manipulated, but when certain storms go over a certain area and sit there and hammer it for days, that's not normal. It's just not. That is not normal. I can only remember that happening a couple times in recent years, like never in the prior, that you would have like a hurricane just sit over a location for a day. Like they just hit and move through. All of these storms are supposed to keep moving, and then they lose strength the more ground they cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know, Ash, you had issues with that too. Yeah, I mean, everybody's insurance has gone up. Our homeowners, our cars, everything. I have some other theories on why that's what's tying to that to make it worse. Well, Drew, is there anything you want to add, but is there anything we haven't covered that we talked about in our pre-show?
I think we got it.
I think we did
pretty well.
Did you have fun?
Mm-hmm.
This is like the most you've talked for the week, right?
Yeah, for like a couple months probably.
You should do more.
Yeah, no.
You should. Well, I mean, at least hop on and have some fun with us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get you don't want to go through the responsibility of dealing with a regular show or something, but you should come on with us more often. I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. I can geek out.
That's a good thing. Everybody's good at something. Everybody's got that thing that they are exceptional at.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an unusual one. Most people, you're the only one I know that's like really, really into all of this that can explain it well. So I appreciate it very much.
I'm not the best at speaking, but I tried my best.
You do great. Let me check and make sure if there's anybody's gold pills or anything I've missed. Thank you guys so much. I'm releasing scratch-ins. I got it released on my channel. Let me get into the America Rising channel and fix it. 2 seconds. Here we go. Well, yeah, it's fussing at me. There we go. Okay, scratch-ins released. We've had a lovely chat out there. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Please share the show out. Please hit the red pill, thumbs up. Any of that helps very much with our algorithms. We really, really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So following, we have Patriot Theater tonight. I know they're doing Dunkirk. I saw that on the list, and they're doing another one. That one's escaped me, but I remember Dunkirk because they did another World War II one.
Mm-hmm.
Another biopic last week. So I think they're doing a theme of certain ones. So yeah, good times. Yeah. And let's see, I'll be back tomorrow with Truth Blitz at 1:00 Eastern, and Johnny will be with me tomorrow for that one. And then Orion has his show at 4. That is the discipleship show. And then we have the regular evening programming all week. So we'll be back on schedule. Where can people find you or follow you, Drew?
I just have like a Twitter, and basically that's it. Drew Boston.
In case they want to reach out or ask questions.
Yeah. But that's about it. I don't get on any other social medias.
Yeah, I know.
Besides just my Twitter.
I only do a couple. And I lurk a lot. I probably should be more active, but I lurk a lot.
Yeah.
I get the information I need, and I don't engage as much as I probably should. I'm trying to work on it.
Yeah. Everybody needs to work on something.
Yep. Along Came the Spider. That's what they're doing tonight, along with Dunkirk. Along Came the Spider, man. That's woof.
I don't even know what that is.
It's based on a book. It's tracking
Charlotte's Web.
It's tracking it's a serial killer. It's tracking a serial killer. It's pretty intense. It's good. It's really a good one. Those are 2 really good ones tonight, so they'll have fun. Oh, no discipleship tomorrow. Ryan's on vacay. Thank you, Ash. I forgot. I can't keep everybody's vacation schedules. And I really should know his because I've talked to him about it. I don't know how many times. Yeah, I'll claim I'm having a blonde moment. I'll claim on that one. I'll just let that go.
You're just a girl.
That's right. I'm just a girl doing a podcast. That's all. All right. Well, I'll wrap up here. Trying to make sure if there's anything else. I think we're good. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add before I roll us out?
I think we got everything.
All right.
For now.
Okay. Well, we'll have you back soon. We can talk
Alrighty.
about more fun weather. More crazy stuff.
I'll have to get more crazy stuff.
That won't be hard. I don't think it will be hard in the current clown world to get material.
No.
I don't think we'll be sore for that one.
Uh-uh.
All right. Thank you everybody so much. We'll see you
Bye-bye,
next
chat.
week for this.